www.DESIblitz.com.
Hi, I'm Parmi Dheensa, and this is my gorgeous son, Callum Dheensa. We're representing Include Me Too, and you've been watching us on DESIblitz.com. Callum was born premature. He was born 3 months premature, and Callum has a whole load of complex needs. He's got severe learning disabilities, dyspraxia, vision impairment, and because of that, he also ended up occurring brain injury. I think with Callum, just like his older brother, it's very much about making sure that they live a life full of fun, adventures, as we'd say. I want him to have the best of life. I want him to experience friendships, relationships with his friends, with his family. I really want him to enjoy life, just like any other child. With Callum, it's been a journey. It tends to be a journey for many of us parents. You go and meet doctors, lots of consultants, you get given different diagnoses. For example, Callum even though he had global brain damage, and I was trying to get used to the fact that he's sensory difficult, he'd have sensory impairments, physical difficulties, learning difficulties, and then he started having epilepsy, and with epilepsy I never realised that it can make somebody regress. So from having a 2-year-old that was starting to learn how to do row the boat, I remember how devastating it was when I started realising he was unlearning things. And I have to say, at the age of 15 my son still has epilepsy, which I would say for me is the greatest difficulty we experience as a family, don't we, Callum? Then his vision impairment, his physical difficulties, and his learning disability. I mean, Callum, as you can see, he's lovely. He's so loving. I absolutely adore him. And I think for us the issue really is we just want to create a better world for our children, for all children with a range of disabilities and impairments. If you have an understanding world, a more adaptable world, a more disability respecting world, our children wouldn't have those difficulties. His school is wonderful. Callum really enjoys sensory environment. You can see even though he's 15, his hugs are big hugs now. His cuddles are huge cuddles, but he's very, very affectionate, very trusting. And that's why sometimes for us as parents it's difficult, because we want to make sure that they're around people who can be trusted with the pure spirits that our children really are. Disability wouldn't be serious if people's attitudes changed, and if we built a society that was a lot more inclusive and adapting for our children's needs, there wouldn't be an issue. They wouldn't be disabled as such. But in reality, for many of us as families, it's very difficult. You're constantly fighting for services. You're constantly trying to, at the same time, get people to understand and accept our children. There's a story I share where we went over to California and we captured a shot of Callum, with his feet up, quite a couple of inches off the floor, his hands spread out, gorgeous smile as always, and his eyes shining bright. And that picture, that photo captured the fact that my son was trying to grab and embrace life. And when you look at that picture, you can't see his impairments. You'd never think he's visually impaired. You'd never think he has difficulty physically or with learning difficulties. He's looking like a vibrant, gorgeous little 4 or 5-year-old at the time. And that's hence when Include Me Too came about, really. Generally, with each local authority, things are changing. We've got the new SEN reforms coming here in England. Lots of changes are being made, but the difficulty is lots of local authorities also are facing cuts. There's lots of changes in the welfare reform, for example, but I can certainly tell you in terms of Include Me Too, we've had many families who've begun the journey with us, and we also came across families who had adults with children who are disabled, and we've always kind of very openly welcome these families because they're isolated. We're finding a lot of families, when their children leave school, they've got no support. And you also find that a lot of services for adults will say, actually, we don't get many Black, Asian, ethnic minority families accessing our services. We also do a lot of work in the community, raising awareness about disability. We support local authorities and government departments, giving them guidance of how to best support Black, Asian, ethnic minority families. And it's not only empowering parents and carers, but it's also about empowering disabled children and people. So we have an ambassadors program, and we're supporting young children to get to know about their rights. There's lots of things that are out there. I think we need to, as a community, in the Asian community, really openly talk about disability and celebrate it. I think there's a lot of assumptions made about disabilities, and also, in all honesty, we haven't even got the language of disabilities. When we're trying to explain to services and when we're trying to explain to families certain conditions in many of our Asian community languages, we haven't got the words that describe cerebral palsy, describe autism, describe epilepsy, for example. So I think as a community ourselves, we really need to kind of start talking about disability, start bringing it as a key issue as a community, which we need to learn, understand, so we can support many families. In terms of disabled children, the number has increased in this country. You can imagine a substantial amount of those, and the percentages will also be from Asian communities. So certainly there are many families that are going to know of a member of the family who's disabled. But I'd also say it's not about just disabled children and people. Something could happen to anybody at any point in their life where they might end up having a disability. So what we need to do is be a bit more kinder to each other, a bit more understanding, and be accepting. These are the first ever national awards for Black, Asian and ethnic minority families to really nominate and celebrate our children. So it's not only about the families nominating for moms, dads, their child for trying hard at their education. It doesn't necessarily have to be a degree. The fact that they've overcome barriers to get through education, a sports accomplishment, maybe arts, craft, maybe they like singing, something with creative arts. So these are the first awards where we are really celebrating the courageous families as well, celebrating the uniqueness of the families. And really it's the whole idea behind it was a platform for people to understand our children and get to see their achievements, however big or small they might be. So I would certainly hope that all your viewers, whether you know a family, whether you work in a school, or you work you might know a colleague who's got a disabled child, or anybody that you might know who's got a disabled child who's from Black, Asian, ethnic minority backgrounds, look at our 12 categories and please do start nominating. And this is a fantastic opportunity to really start talking about disability and start changing people's minds and hearts. If anything, Callum's taught us a lot as a family. We're very, very blessed. We've met the amazing families, lots of families with disabled children and young people. We've got lots of friends, haven't we, Callum? And constantly, Callum, through Callum, our experiences and many of the families, we are here to educate people and carry on building on our community of fabulous families with disabled children.